Let's face it, we've known for years that one of the most destructive forces on the planet is commercial agriculture. It sends millions of tons of carbon dioxide into the air from tractors and transportation, and it fills our water systems with synthetic pesticides and our soils with toxic sewage solids. And we remove our life-sustaining forests that regulate our climates. The result of all that hard work is produce that's deficient in nutrients and micronutrients, and that contains chemical additives that are not designed to enhance our body's health. The system is set up to war against nature's beautifully designed biotic system, and it's bound to fail. This is not to say anything bad about farmers. They work hard and do the best they can, and we appreciate what they do, and where would we be without them? But we really need a new path moving forward. If we're to survive it all, we have to grow and eat locally. I know that sounds hard, and I would have agreed with you on that a decade ago. But after learning how we can imitate how nature grows forests of the densest biomass on Earth without any synthetic fertilizers or pesticides, and how we can imitate nature in our backyards, I learned how easy it really is to grow food. My name is Tutu Sainz, and I'm a San Diego grandmother, entrepreneur, and food forest co-creator. I figured out how to naturally grow streams of fresh, nutritious produce from our yard, and we enjoy our food forest lifestyle because the fresh produce tastes amazing and our bodies are lean and healthy. My grandmother Lula lived in Kentucky, and on 1 acre of land during the Depression, she grew enough food to feed her large family and even have food to share with hungry people that were in need. Our ancestors from that era hoped that we, the next generations, would not forget the lessons that they learned about food independence. My grandmother guided my choices in life, and I've always felt we should grow our own food. And I know that's been really hard to do. It seems almost impossible. And I've been dabbling at gardening my whole life. But the most amazing thing happened that shifted my view of gardening. Back in 2007, during the mortgage meltdown, I lost my home and had to start again. Thankfully, by 2011, I was working as an accountant. I had searched for a home, and I always looked for a home with an existing garden. Because most houses were being foreclosed on during that time, I got this one that had been vacant for a while, but with ancient fruit and nut trees growing in the yard with no human attention or help. Still, they were producing delicious food crops, even with no one around. That was my first clue that this was not like the small backyard garden plots I had grown in the past that died back at the end of summer and needed to be replanted every spring. These trees seemed independent, and the animal life around them were part of their community. Although I had always been an organic gardener, I began learning about sustainable permaculture from the Back to Eden film with Paul Gauci. And I heard the term food forest for the first time from Jeff Lawton, the worldwide famous permaculturist. It clicked into place for me, and I understood that if natural forests can grow the densest biomass on Earth with no help from humans, then we humans could learn to imitate nature's forests, but use fruit and nut trees in place of pines and hardwoods, and use berry bushes and tomato vines and edible ground covers and root veggies to cover the forest floor. The harmony of a forest in my backyard garden rocked my world. And I wrote it down in journals so I wouldn't forget. I blogged about it so I could share it with the world. I became fascinated by the steady stream of foods and seeds ripening. I was literally sowing and reaping at the same time, almost every day. As I planted seeds for one crop, I was harvesting ripe produce from another in a steady stream. Never before had I grown such an abundant garden. Not only was this garden the most successful one I had experienced, but it required little effort and water to maintain. The best part is the food forest is a unified community that shares resources among all the life forms, and everyone gets fed. The implications for humans could change our planet into a place of peace and abundance. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The point is that the forest grows itself. Sunlight, water, air, and earth flow to and through all the life forms as they work in specific ways to sustain the whole forest as a community. Soil bacteria, fungi, worms, insects, and spiders are all working consistently to improve soil health for the plants by breaking down spent plant and animal material forms into nutrient-dense soil. Plants are capturing sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water to combine with the soil nutrients to grow new cells that store carbohydrates, proteins, and oils, which become food for animals and people before they end up back on the ground to transform into new plant growth. Forests grow by themselves without help from humans. No one fertilizes a forest or sprays insecticides or manages the wildlife, yet it produces the densest biomass on Earth. It's an excellent recycling design that uses sunlight to feed all life. Earth and sun, along with the plants and animals, are creating infinite abundance for us in native forests and in our backyards when we grow food forests. Now my backyard food forest grows and replicates itself. Perennial plants and trees keep fruiting in their seasons, while reseeding annual plants pop up by themselves and grow happily. There's always something fresh to eat. Did I make mistakes along the way? Yes. The biggest mistake I made was a carryover from my old understanding of gardening. At first, I pulled out any weed that I saw, and I thought of them as a problem. If I didn't plant it, I reasoned that it was not a good plant. Little did I know that I was pulling out useful plants that were cultivated by previous generations. Some of them were edible, others medicinal, and still others were helping improve the soil. So the garden was much more generous than I imagined it to be. During the last 10 years since 2011, I began to lose weight and feel rejuvenated. Now I weigh the same as I did in high school and have excellent health, flexibility, and energy. I even have a positive attitude most of the time. I realized that I had to share this good news with everyone around the world because there's enough abundance for us all. I started a blog in 2013 and gained thousands of followers from all over the world. In 2019, I published a book about our food forest called Our Path to Infinite Abundance, Introduction to Food Forests. And in 2020, I created an online course that takes you through the steps to creating a food forest. It's called Food Forest University. Now I'm focusing on enjoying the food forest lifestyle of ease and grace, cooking and baking, and even making pure body and hair care products from my forest produce. You could be doing the same thing, sowing and reaping at the same time, always having fresh food in every season, believing that our Creator created this for us and that we don't have to war against it. Learning that wildlife is necessary and helpful, seeing the perfection in the design of nature, discovering that there is no return on investment on earth that comes close to the return on investment you get from nature. You can grow healthy food instead of a lawn and some ornamental flowers. You can become part of the solution of how to sustain life on earth. You can learn to grow your best food and live your best life. Even if you live in a neighborhood, even in a small yard, in the city limits or in the suburbs, you can create a food forest at your house too. So I mentioned my online course, Food Forest University, which lays out an 8-step path to get the food forest growing and to maintain it over time. I compiled the course from my observations and writings while living here, and I include all the essential steps and the tips and tricks I use to make things easy, save more water, and grow a high-performance food forest garden. Once you start this course, you'll be so relieved to have this simple path to guide you every step of the way. You'll have a chance to ask questions and make comments and get a response from me. You'll learn how to create a long-lasting garden that provides you with harvests of a wide variety of fruits, nuts, veggies, medicinal herbs, and craft supplies of your choice. You will be the one that decides what you want to grow, based on what you love to eat. You'll learn to work with the wildlife and not against it, although sometimes you will have to outsmart some of the creatures to protect your newly started plants until they get established. And you'll learn how to do that too. You will feel the joy of receiving food for free and the feeling of freedom that comes from food independence. You'll see your health improve as you eat fresh, wholesome food, and you'll see your budget relieved that you don't have to purchase expensive organic foods anymore. Heck, you might even break out in a little happy dance. Now, if you don't love this course, you can let me know through the link below, and you can get a full refund within the first 7 days after enrolling. And you will get several bonuses with the course when you enroll right now. You'll get several excerpts from my inspiring book, Our Path to Infinite Abundance, Introduction to Food Forests, and a worksheet template that helps you record everything you have growing. It's amazing when you start to fill it out and discover how many edible and useful plants you have growing. There are a couple bonus sections in the course that I added as a surprise. One is on how to make hair care products from the garden, and the other is about growing an aquaponics system. I plan to take those out of the course eventually and make them into separate courses, but for right now they're included in the course. And so if you get the course today, you'll get all the extra bonuses and get started growing safe, healthy food today. Our bodies and our planet can't wait for us to wake up and change our ways. You can do this. I'm a small woman. I'm almost 60 years old. I can and I do perform all the actions in the 8 steps. I made it so easy that all you have to do is follow the directions like a recipe. This is your chance to break free of the toxic food cycle we are in and experience food freedom, health freedom, and financial freedom. So click the link to enroll today, and I will see you inside the course.